The night everything changed. 5 years had passed since my divorce. 5 long years of solitude, of empty beds and silent nights. At 43, I had grown accustomed to the quiet, to the way the shadows stretched across the walls in the darkness, a constant reminder of the life I now lived alone. But that Tuesday evening was different. Exhaustion clung to me like a second skin as I lay in bed, the weight of the day pressing down on my limbs. The house was its usual tomb of stillness, the kind of quiet that should have been comforting. But tonight it felt oppressive, as if the air itself was holding its breath. Then a soft knock at the door. My eyes snapped open. The sound was so faint I almost wondered if I had imagined it. But no, there it was again, a hesitant tap, barely audible. "Adrian!" called out, sitting up. The door creaked open, revealing my son standing in the dim light of the hallway. At 22, he was no longer the little boy who used to crawl into my bed after nightmares. The pajamas he wore were those of a man, loose-fitting, but unable to hide the broadness of his shoulders, the sharp angles of his jawline. "Mom," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "I can't sleep." There was something in his tone, a vulnerability that tugged at my instincts. But beneath that maternal pull, something else stirred, something I couldn't name. A discomfort, a strange awareness of the space between us. "Come here," I said, patting the mattress beside me. He hesitated, his fingers gripping the doorframe before he finally stepped inside. The bed dipped under his weight as he slipped under the covers, lying stiffly beside me. Only a few inches separated us, but his presence was overwhelming. His warmth, the faint scent of his cologne, the way his breathing filled the silence. I tried not to look at him, but I couldn't help it. The years had reshaped him. His cheekbones were sharper, his arms more defined. The realization sent an unexpected jolt through me. Embarrassment, confusion, something else I refused to name. "Mom," he whispered, turning his face toward me. "Sometimes I feel so alone in this house." His voice cracked and my heart clenched. Without thinking, I reached out, resting my hand on his shoulder. In an instant, he turned and pulled me into a tight embrace. The force of it startled me. His arms wrapped around me with a strength I hadn't expected, his face pressing into the crook of my neck. I could feel his heartbeat, fast, unsteady, his breath warm against my skin. And then, without meaning to, I was hugging him back. A strange flutter rose in my chest. His face shifted, his lips brushing my collarbone. "Sometimes it's just too much," he murmured. "I'm here," I whispered. "I'm always here." But inside I was anything but calm. My pulse hammered, my skin prickling with a heat I didn't understand. His closeness was too much. His embrace too tight, too lingering. Felt different. And yet I didn't pull away. He fell asleep like that, his breathing slow and even. But I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, one thought circling my mind like a vulture. What just happened? There had been something in that hug, something beyond a son seeking comfort. Something that lingered in the way his fingers had pressed into my back, the way his breath had hitched when I touched him. And the worst part, I couldn't forget it. When dawn came, Adrian was still beside me. His face softened in sleep. Sunlight traced the curve of his cheek, making him look younger, innocent. But the memories of the night before twisted inside me, a knot of emotions I couldn't unravel. I slipped out of bed quietly, retreating to the kitchen. The routine of making breakfast, measuring flour, cracking eggs, should have grounded me. But my hands trembled. I felt him before I saw him. "Morning," Adrian said from the doorway, his voice rough with sleep. "Morning, honey," I replied, forcing a smile. But something was off. He wasn't just watching me, he was studying me. His gaze traced my movements with an intensity that made my skin prickle. The way his eyes lingered on my hips, my hands, the curve of my neck, it wasn't casual. It was deliberate. And I noticed, felt it. When I handed him his plate, our fingers brushed, just for a second, but it sent a jolt through me. His grip tightened, his eyes locking onto mine with a question I couldn't answer. He didn't speak during breakfast, but every time I moved, his gaze followed. Something had shifted, and I didn't know how to fix it. That night I couldn't sleep. The air was thick with something unspoken, a tension that coiled tighter with every passing hour. And sound. My eyes flew open to see Adrian standing in the doorway, silhouetted by moonlight. My breath caught. He moved toward me, slow and deliberate, his eyes dark with something I recognized but didn't want to name. Adrian! Before I could finish, he kissed me. Time stopped. His lips were warm, insistent. His hand slid down my body, mapping me in ways that sent shockwaves through my veins. Whoa, this isn't right. Pulled away, gasping. Stop, we can't. But he didn't listen. And the worst part, I didn't stop him. The next morning I woke alone. The sheets were cold. The house was silent. But inside me, guilt clawed at my throat. Shame burned in my chest. But beneath it all, something darker, something I couldn't face. What had I done? What had we done? And why? Why couldn't I forget the way he touched me,